during the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, it was quite hard for us because everybody thought of us as being very far away. So you are just there over near the ocean. But planes, they change it, and now we are really, if you see, we are really in the middle. So we are there, and then you have America in one side, Africa in the other, and our air connectivity really put us in the center of the world almost. So you can come to Asia, you can go to more than 75 different destinations in Europe. Most of them are less than 4 hours distance. So Madrid is 1 hour and 10, I think. Barcelona 2 hours. England. So it's very convenient. And if you go to New York, it's 7 hours?
7 hours.
7 hours. So now we think of ourselves, thanks to planes, as being in the middle of the world. So we are really a hub. Our country is this small, but very diverse. So you can drive car, a 6 hours drive car takes you from south to north. And from Lisbon, our capital, to the Algarve, it's about 2 hours 40 driving, and from Lisbon to Porto, 3 hours. And you can do it by train also. So here, sea, and there, and up, Spain. So our tourism board, National Tourism Board, is very committed with sustainability. In the touristic activity, that means that we have to try the most to have tourists during all over the year and all over the country. Because of planes, people tend to stay in Lisbon or Porto. So we have to create attractiveness in other parts of the country so that people feel a drive to go elsewhere. And so we have been doing a lot of walking and cycling, wine tourism. But then we thought, why not take the houses of the writers, take the itineraries themselves wrote in their books. Why don't take that and do some product that is both cultural and touristic? And so that's what we are doing. So we have routes related to itinerary works or authors across the territory. This is Saramaggo, our Nobel Prize. We also have authors, houses and interpretive centers that really are privileged places to discover more about the life and the works of the authors. We also have unique libraries. This is the staircase of Livraria Lelo in Oporto. Is considered one of the most beautiful libraries in the world. That was an inspiration for J.R. Rowling to write Harry Potter, because she used to live in Oporto. We are investing a lot in literary events like books and music, book festivals. We have in Óbidos a festival that takes place every year and that attracts international writers like Paul Auster, Rushdie. They all, we are always improving and bringing new and consecrated writers to Portugal, and sometimes they stay for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, just to be in a house, have inspiration to write something. So quite unique in that sense. And also we have literary cafes and hotels. This is Brasileira, one of the most known in Lisbon, where there is this statue of Fernando Pessoa that used to go there to write and drink a coffee. So I will give you just some examples of what we are doing. Like, we are suggesting people what they can do. So Porto and the North region, center of Portugal, Lisbon and Alentejo, you can find different itineraries and suggestions of things you can do while there. So this is Lelo bookstore, as I have told you before. It's very beautiful. So one of the itineraries we suggest to tour operators and to agencies is like, so you could start the morning in the bookstore, the Lelo, and then just walk around, and you can have lunch in this magnificent coffee and restaurant called Majestic, where all the cultural and the influencers of the time that use newspapers and books, not the Instagram, used to go. And in the afternoon, if you want to stay in Porto, you can go to the Serralves Foundation. That's it's not only a very important museum in Portugal of modern art, but also has beautiful gardens, and the building itself, it's very beautiful. And you could have dinner at Guarani Café. It's a very literary cafe and restaurant in Porto. We tend to call café to places that actually don't just sell coffee. They are restaurants, but people used to go there to talk and to read the paper and to discuss the politic situation of the world and of Portugal. So during the Second World War, from Second World War on, cafes like in French, they started to have this routine among the citizens of Lisbon and Porto, the biggest cities.
And serve small dishes.
Yes,
right?
Yes, like small portions.
Portions of food for people that needed to have a meal.
And so what we suggest also is Torel Palace or Grand Hotel of Porto, and here you have just some, it's Lelo, Majestic, Guarani, this is Serralves, and this is the tower. This in Oporto. So, but if you don't want to stay just in Oporto and go further north, you can go to the house of Esed Queiroz. That's actually one of our biggest writers. It was a writer that was very critic of the way of living and very critic of the society. So when you read his books, you really know how aristocracy was in Portugal, how it's like gossip, but very well written. Gossip from the 19th century?
19th century.
Yes.
And he actually was also a diplomat that was posted in several cities, in Havana, in Cuba, in Paris. So he also had this step back of looking at Portugal from abroad also. So it was also perhaps easier for him
to have this eye, because you see that
exactly.
He was a man of the world back then. His writing shows that. But he's actually from a very small town in Portugal, very beautiful, called Baião. Baião, it's about 45 minutes ride from Oporto, and from Baião you have access to the Douro River. So you have a lot of beautiful hotels facing and small boutique hotels facing the river, but you also have this house where he used to live, and that has a museum, a very well kept museum, and a very beautiful restaurant. So it's called Casa de Tormes because the place is called Tormes, and it's actually a very beautiful place. From there we suggest you to go to the other house of another famous writer, or at least is a very important writer for us Portuguese. It's called Miguel Torga, and Miguel Torga was from a little town called Sabrosa in the north, but more to the right, more interior than Esed Queiroz. Now you can reach very very easily these places, but when they were young, when they were writers, it was a journey to go to Oporto for both of them. So you even have some of their writings are about that, the trips, how they had to plan them, how that was important. So really visiting these places, if you read some of their writings, it becomes even more interesting, because there was an issue. It was an happening going to Oporto. Wow, we have to take 3 weeks just to plan it. And so we suggest you to go there and to have dinner here at this restaurant that has a Michelin star, that is in Régua. and then you can stay in Quinta do Valado. There is a winery hotel, one of the first winery hotels that opened in the Douro region. But you can also stay in Quinta da Pacheca, that you will see it's very peculiar because you can sleep in a barrel. Actually, they have a manor house, a big house, but then they have these barrels that are actually very beautiful. Yes, people love them, and during pandemic, this hotel was always fully booked. Why? Because you could stay away from other people. You were in the middle of the countryside. You could go and visit vineyards, and you could eat.
It's like a tent.
Yes, you could eat, and it's like glamping.
Glamping.
You could actually have your meals there. They would serve you just for you to not to go to the restaurants.
And the first one is the house of
Esset
Queiroz, right?
Yes, yes.
And the third one too.
No, this one is Quinta do Valado.
Quinta do Valado.
Yes, it's the other hotel near Douro. So, if you go to the center of Portugal, you have the most important library in Portugal. It's the Biblioteca Joanina in the University of Coimbra. All Koreans that go to Portugal for the first time, they 99% go to this library. Yes, it's important for many people for many different reasons. It's very important for historical reasons, for the books they have. It's very, very important for the Jews also because it has one of the first books, sacred books they have. So it's like a pearl that we have right in the middle of Portugal. So we suggest you to go to Alcobaça Monastery. Alcobaça is very dangerous because it has a lot of sweets. So if you go there, you'll get fat. All sweets made of egg, very good pastry. We call it conventual pastry because it was actually almost of the pastry was made by nuns. Yes, so they use a lot of eggs because why? They use the white part of the egg to iron. So everything would stay white and very stiff. And so they add all the yellow parts. What to do with that? Put sugar. If you put sugar, you do sweets. So a lot of sweets from this region of Alcobaça are actually made of egg and butter and sugar. So imagine, very tasty, very sweet. So that's one of the reasons people love to go there. And so here it says you can have lunch at Pousada do Castelo or the Historyman in Óbidos. Óbidos is a fortified village in the center of Portugal, near the sea, yes. And actually it's very interesting because people still live inside the walls. You have an hotel inside the walls, and there's local life there. So it's not just a touristic, fabricated destination. Is actually people live there. Yes, so you have a lot, because you have a literary festival called Folio, that comes from folha, that is page. So you have the festival there. So in the last 10 years, there have been a lot of little bookshops, little shops related with books, that have opened, and so we called it the literary village in Portugal. So you can just take a guided visit to the center of Óbidos, and then you can dinner and have accommodation at Book and Cook. That is actually an hotel made of this idea of cooking and reading. So it's a very beautiful place. So there's Alcobaça. See? Here I think it's Caldas da Rainha.
Yes, it is.
This is a library in
Óbidos.
yes, Santiago Bookshop.
And the ginger,
Yes.
liquor that they sell in the village of Óbidos.
It's like a cherry.
Sherry.
It's a cherry liquor, very sweet, but alcoholic. And Sometimes they don't really, if you go to a very popular place, they will not serve you in these glasses, they will serve you in small glasses. And in Óbidos, they actually serve it inside, it's not a glass, it's a cup made of chocolate. So you drink the liquor and you eat the chocolate. Yeah. And this is the hotel. This is the restaurant of the hotel.
So it's full of
Yes,
books. The decoration are books, so it's like living in a bookshop or in a library.
Yes.
It's very special,
Yeah.
very cozy.
So this is just one of, Saramaggo wrote a lot about Portugal, mainly. So we have a lot of roots related with Saramaggo. I will talk to you about it later. We have, this is the year where Saramaggo would have been turned 100 years. So we even have a special platform just dedicated to Saramaggo that we did with the Saramaggo Foundation, that we took writers from all over the world to revisit a book he wrote about Portugal, and they went to the same places he went, and they wrote about the same things that he saw, but now in a different perspective, because the book is from the late 70s, early 80s, so Portugal has changed a lot since then. And so this is the Elephant's Journey. It's one of the last books of Saramaggo. It's if you it's missing a T there. I saw there's missing a visit. It's missing a, sorry, I got. So if you can read in English, because I
they
imagine
have been translated. I don't know if all of them,
yes, but the journey.
But most of them have been translated into Korean.
I don't know if the Elephant's Journey has been translated.
Was it?
Was it? If it wasn't, it's one of his.
It
Yes,
was?
it's one of the easiest books of Saramaggo. Yes, actually, we had to study Saramaggo in school.
Yes.
At school, and it's difficult because long periods, no commas, no. So for students, even for Portuguese, that we do, it's our language. It's very, very difficult. But if you don't give up on Saramaggo, you will get used to it, and you eventually love him, like I do. But the last books, I don't know if it was because he was getting too old. He got softer, and so he started to write about little things in a very funny way. So the quality of the writing is there, but it's like it's more sweet the way he writes. So this is the journey of to the Pope. It's the journey of. So it's really they wanted to bring an elephant to the Pope. So he describes the whole trip. It's very funny the way he writes this book. But so taking that book, we made this route where you can visit Sortelha. That's a historical village in Portugal. We have a route of 12 historical villages, and Sortelha is one of them. And there's a castle near it, it's Sabugal's castle. And you could have lunch here at Casa da Esquila or elsewhere, but here food is very good. And visit Almeida. Almeida is another historical village. And you could taste another kind of ginginha, because ginginha is very different, the Lisbon, the Óbidos, and the interior one. Actually, this part of Portugal is where the the best cherries are. So we also have a cherry bloom, but our trees, actually they have cherries. So it's not just the flower. In June, there's a lot of cherries in Portugal. So this particular cherry is different. It's not meant to eat because it's a little bitter, but it still is a cherry, still blossoms. And here they recommend to stay at Casas da Cerca. That is a rural tourism accommodation that is quite amazing. It's this one. And so here you have Sabugal Castle, and here is Sortelha. Actually, people live there. Yes, small villages like 20 inhabitants or.
Sabugal é o que tem as estrelas, não é? É em Estrela.
Não tenho
Castelo,
certeza.
não?
Não tenho certeza. So then we come to Lisbon. This is a bookshop called Ler Devagar, Read Slowly. It was a place where the papers were printed. Okay, so they have a lot of the equipment is still there, and the structure, the metal structure. It's in a very modern part of the city, Alcântara.
Called Alex
Yes,
Factory.
Alex Factory. It's a place where you have shops and restaurants. So it was basically warehouses, and they converted it into a place where it's a trendy place. So
Very trendy.
very trendy. So Lisbon is the city of Fernando Pessoa. Actually, it diverges. Some people consider Saramaggo the biggest writer in Portugal. Some consider it to be Pessoa. Because Pessoa wins, because Pessoa was himself and the others, because he had a lot of heteronymous, so it's like you don't have just a writer. You read one, you gain four with it, four. So and Pessoa, he lived in many different houses. He was single. He had a lot of hands. So it actually, if you go through Lisbon, there's a chance you can see a house or a building where it says here Fernando Pessoa lived from this month to this. Actually, near my house, there's a building where he used to live in an apartment, and I didn't know it. So, wow! So it was like 6 months here, 8 months there. But there's this house where he lived for more time, in a very typical neighborhood of Lisbon called Campo do Rique, and they made a house. It's like a museum where you can see parts of his books, where you can have the recreation of one of his bedrooms, and you can just take a journey into his work. So then, of course, you should go to a Brasileira, to the cafe in Chiado, where you have his statue. And
Because he used to work near
yes,
the city center.
Exactly. Yes,
right?
he used to work mostly in cafes. This one and another one that's São Martinho da Arcada, that is more near the river, and he used to go there a lot to have dinner. So in the evening. So it's missing another T. So visit to downtown Lisbon, where Bernardo Soares, one of his heteronymies, lives and works, and this is all in just one neighborhood. So it's very near and very convenient to walk, and you can really meet the place where his girlfriend Ophelia lived, and have dinner at the other cafe I just told you, where he used to go a lot. There is Martin da Arcada. That's very beautiful. The cafe is still like it used to be in the early 20th century. So and this is Hotel Heritage or Britannia. Britannia is a very Art Deco, very beautiful hotel. Very, very, very beautiful from the turning of the century. And the rooms are amazing, and the furniture everything is Art Deco, very well kept. They used to have a barber shop inside, so it's not working, but you can still see the chair, and like if it was the barber's booth there. And this is the other hotel, and Martin da Arcada there. They're the Casa de Fernando Pessoa.
And again, the tram.
The tram. Yes, one of. Or if you are in Lisbon, you can go to the historical bookshops. And we have plenty of them, beginning with Bertrand, that is one of the most ancient libraries in the world. And you have Sada Costa, all in the same 200, 300 meters. You have all these amazing bookshops, and then the other one, Ler Devagar, that this one, yes, is a little bit away from here, but then you can have dinner if you go and visit that library. In the end, you can actually have dinner there, And of course, to sleep, we recommend the Pessoa Hotel. So, there is those two from up are the Bertrand bookshop. Here is Sada Costa. This is Bertrand. No, this is Travessa. Yeah, Ferran. Ferran, Bertrand.
Sí.
And here is Travessa. Travessa is actually a library from Brazil, and some years ago they opened one bookshop in Lisbon. Or you can go from Lisbon to the outskirts of Lisbon to Sintra, to Mafra actually. That's there is World Heritage, the monastery of convent of Mafra, and all the it's not really a forest, but
No, it's a park.
it's a park. All the park there where the king used to go for hunting, it's also considered World Heritage by UNESCO. So you can start near the river by Terreiro do Passo and go to Casa dos Bicos. That's actually Saramago's foundation house is there. And then just go to Lourdes and go to Farta Brutus. That is, it was used to be the Saramago's favorite restaurant. So the family says, yes.
Didn't know that.
In Lisbon. And you go to Mafra, the National Palace and Royal Library, and you can just have dinner and sleep in a book-related hotel. The Mafra was also, it was not just about Baltasar and Bulimunda or other books from. So it's Mafra. I'm missing the name of the book Saramago wrote about.
Convent.
Como é que se chama? Memorial do Convento.
Memorial do Convento.
I don't know what's the name in English. Memorial do Convento.
Baltasar is the name.
What?
Baltasar and Blimunda is the name in English.
It is the name?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes, I didn't know. They are translated. It's so different because it's the name of two of the characters, but not the name of the book for us. So this is the hotel. It's amazing. It's a library, but very different from the one you've seen before. Oh, this is in Santo. This I actually don't know. Huh? It's near Lisbon, but I don't know it. That's Saramago Foundation, and that's the Praça do Comércio Big Square in Lisbon, in front of the river. And so, literary events and festivals that we have, I already told about some of them. We have one in February in the north of Portugal, mostly dedicated to Portuguese and Spanish literature. So Spanish can be South America also, and Portuguese can be Brazilian and all the African countries that speak Portuguese. Then in May you have one about travel literature that's called Lev, and it's in Matosinhos. It's a city near Porto. And then you have Porto August. The book fair you have in Lisbon and Oporto. Then you have Escritaria. There is a smaller festival that takes place in a city near Porto that's called Penafiel. And also in Matosinhos you have a festival that's only for poetry. And so then you have in Óbidos, you have in Leiria. So all of the most important might be the Folio, because it's the one that attracts most of the international writers to Portugal. But what is interesting here is that the number of festivals and around books are really increasing in Portugal, not only destined to international writers, but also for the generations in Portugal and for the Portuguese-speaking people learn more about their own writers and the country. So I think in that way it's also very educational to create events that make writing and reading more attractive to young generations. And the National Tourism Board also has other literary projects. One of them is the Sketch Tour Portugal. Actually, one of the last editions of Sketch Tour had a Korean sketcher. This is the last one we had, but the previous had, and so we have sketch tours. So the writers are Portuguese mainly, but the sketchers are from all over the world. And this is the platform I told you. There's this book about Portugal that Saramaggo wrote that's called Trip to Portugal, and we made this platform with Saramaggo Foundation that's called Trip to Portugal Revisited. So what we did is we invited José Luís Peixoto. There is a Portuguese writer who was very close to Saramaggo in Saramaggo's last years, and he actually won the Saramaggo Prize, I think one of the first editions, if not the first. And so what we asked him was to write about, he and Saramaggo Foundation, they chose 12 places of Portugal that Saramaggo had written about in that book. And then he wrote about, I think, 6 of them, and he invited 5 writers to write about the others. But he was with the writers, he went with them, and he kind of was the curator of the others. So the inspiration for this platform was this sentence of Saramaggo that I think that kind of sums it. You have to go back to see things with different eyes and different perspective, because the same thing you do today, if you do it tomorrow, might be different. So it's the same with the writing and the same with what you live and see. If you see one thing for the second time, it's different. So that was what we did. We just, and the platform itself, it's very dynamic. So you go there, you choose the place, and then it's very dynamic. It takes you with a map to the place. You can see one of the writers reading a piece of the book of Saramaggo, and then the writer has a text of what he saw in this new, in this revisitation of the place, and he makes you like an itinerary. He says, if you come here, you should see this and this, you should not miss that. So it's a way of knowing a place by a writer's eyes. So it would be like the third view, because first time was Saramaggo, second the writer, and the third ourselves. So it's just to say that it was developed in partnership with the José Saramaggo Foundation, and what the project consists of a reconstruction of these itineraries traveled by Saramaggo in his work Journey to Portugal by contemporary national and international authors. So this sums it. So thank you so much.